Welcome to Le Weekend, your essential roundup of French news on culture, business, the economy, and current affairs. We bring you a convenient way to catch up on the stories from the past week in France, plus an additional focus feature blending reportage and cultural context. You'll find a seamless recap of the week's most important headlines without losing any content from our previous daily format, perfect for those who want to catch up in just one episode. Le Weekend is designed to keep you informed and engaged with a lighter touch at the end. Let's dive in. The headlines on Monday, August 3rd. Inflation is accelerating more in France than in the Eurozone. In both cases, the price increase was notable in the services sector alongside the rebound in energy prices, which should strengthen the case for another interest rate hike by the European Central Bank in September, as reported by L'Agify. France tightened foreign investment checks amid national security concerns. Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu issued a decree on Sunday extending France's investment screening system to acquisitions of 10% or more of a listed French company operating in a sensitive or strategic sector, regardless of whether its shares are traded in France or abroad, as reported by RFI. French wildfires exposed a cache of buried Second World War shells. Devastating wildfires in the southwest of France have uncovered a hidden cache of Second World War-era shells in the village of Le Porche, adding an explosive edge to an already dangerous situation, as reported by RFI. The headlines on Tuesday, August 4th. Heat waves and wildfires threaten France's deficit reduction goals. This year's heat waves and their consequences could cost between 3 and 6 billion euros in 2026. Insurers will cover a portion of these costs, but the government will have to fund the rest, making Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu's budget even harder to manage, as reported by Le Monde. 157 migrants were reportedly rescued after a boat caught fire during a channel crossing. French authorities said it is one of the largest such rescue operations reported since records began in 2018, as reported by Le Monde. 3 nuclear reactors were shut down due to reduced flow rates in the Meuse and Moselle rivers. The energy company has also reduced the power output of several other units in response to the extreme heat, as reported by Le Figaro. A Dragon Ball theme park could arrive near Paris. Still highly confidential at this stage, a mega project for a theme park dedicated to the famous Japanese manga is mobilizing the highest French authorities and Saudi Arabia, which would finance the venture, according to sources cited by Le Figaro. The headlines on Wednesday, August 5th. The region of Île-de-France filed a lawsuit for compensation over the Fontainebleau forest fire. The Île-de-France Regional Council this week launched a civil lawsuit over the recent wildfire, which decimated more than 2,000 hectares of the Fontainebleau forest south of Paris. A criminal investigation has been opened into the blaze, which the National Forestry Service says caused significant environmental damage, as reported by RFI. July was France's hottest month since records began in 1900. According to the National Weather Service. It was also France's third driest July, with rainfall nearly 70% below average, as reported by RFI. the expansion of Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport entered its final phase. The major 8.2 billion investment plan includes a new building for boarding, a completely new internal rail line, redesigned access to the terminal, and the capacity to welcome 18 million more passengers per year by 2035, a total of nearly 90 million annually, as reported by Le Monde. The headlines on Thursday, August 6th. France is banning unsolicited telemarketing calls as of August 11th. After a joint call by 11 consumer groups last year, the French Parliament approved a law to impose fines on individuals or companies that make unsolicited marketing calls, which can be reported through a public website, as reported by Le Monde. 2 French streamers were convicted over violence preceding the live death of an associate. Naruto and Safine were found guilty of online violence and humiliation preceding the on-air death of streamer Jean Pormanov in his sleep. They received suspended prison sentences, fines, and a 6-month ban on posting online, as reported by Le Monde. France raised the alert amid increasing Russian interference targeting declared or potential presidential candidates. Targeted by the criticism, Gabriel Attal accused Moscow on Thursday of trying to steal the election from the French. The government is promoting a draft law, while part of the left is calling for measures against platforms like TikTok and X, as reported by France 24. The headlines on Friday, August 7th. Unemployment rose for the 6th consecutive quarter to 8.3%. The country hadn't seen such a high figure since the fall of 2020. The number of people without work and actively seeking employment increased by 62,000 compared to the previous quarter, reaching 2.7 million, as reported by Le Figaro. A new narco-traffic boss heading a Marseille network was arrested in Algeria. Following the July arrest of Mehdi Laribi alias Tik, one of the founders of the DZ Mafia, Algerian authorities made another arrest this week of a Marseille-based drug trafficker, according to information from RTL confirmed by Justice Minister Gérald Darmanin. The man arrested, Rachid Djeha, is considered by authorities to be one of the godfathers of the Castellan drug trafficking network in Marseille, as reported by France 24. The French government expects the smallest corn crop since 1980, with several record heat waves having struck France since May and another on the way this next week. Europe's biggest grain producer said the country's corn harvest was on track for a 35% drop this year, a sharp decline that had not been seen since 2003, as reported by Le Monde. You are listening to Le Weekend. And now that you're all caught up with the news from the past week, it's time for our bonus story where we dive a little bit deeper into one of the stories from the past week to provide context. Today we look at why 2 streamers made the news in France this week. And here's your trigger warning. This story contains descriptions of violence. On one afternoon last week in a courtroom in Nice, 2 men who had spent years broadcasting violence for an online audience finally faced consequences. The Nice criminal court found Owen Senazandotti, known to millions as Naruto, and Safine Hamadi, guilty of violence and online humiliation, closing, at least for now, one chapter of a case that had gripped and horrified France for a full year: the on-camera death of their co-streamer Jean Pormanov. Senazandotti, aged 27, was sentenced to 2 years in prison, suspended, and fined 15,000 euros, roughly equivalent to $17,400. Hamadi, 24, received an 18-month suspended sentence and a 5,000 fine, so about $5,800. Both men were also handed 6-month bans on publishing content online. According to French daily France Info, Senazandotti was convicted specifically of violence and incitement to hatred, but acquitted of separate charges of abusing a vulnerable person and disseminating violent content. Because the sentences are suspended, neither one will serve prison time unless he reoffends or breaches the court's terms. But why has this case become such a watershed moment, and why has a French court spent a year building toward this sentence? It is important to understand who Jean Pormanov actually was and what exactly the audience was paying to watch. Raphaël Gravin, who performed online as Jean Pormanov, had amassed roughly 500,000 followers across his streaming career. From 2023 onward, he appeared constantly alongside Senazandotti and Hamadi in broadcasts that, according to prosecutors cited by the different media reports, showed Gravin and a second streamer, Stéphane G., a vulnerable man under curatorship known online as Koudou, being slapped, kicked, whipped, hit with a baseball bat, soaked with water, insulted, and shot with paintball projectiles. Across hundreds of broadcast hours, first on Twitch and later on the platform Kick. In court, the prosecutor handling the case, Maud Marty, argued this was not a case of jokes or stunts that occasionally went too far. She described it instead as a deliberate system of human mistreatment, telling the court, as reported by French broadcaster CNews, that the violence itself was the show, its actual script and product, not an accident of it. Defense lawyers pushed back on that framing throughout the case. According to CNews, Senazandotti and Hamadi maintained that the channel's whole premise rested on a simple comic formula, that Gravin became funny when provoked into anger. Hamadi's lawyer, Tom Michel, told CNN that not everything shown on the stream was staged. A blow, he argued, cannot always be faked, but insisted that whatever happened had been consented to by everyone involved. Senazandotti's own lawyer went further, telling the same outlet his client had nothing to do with Gravin's eventual death and that the violent incidents were performances. That defense would be tested against video evidence and testimony stretching back well before August 2025, because by the time Gravin died, French authorities had already been investigating the group for months. A Mediapart investigation reported in December 2024 accused the streamers of running what it called an abuse business, exposing vulnerable people to humiliation in exchange for viewer donations. That report triggered a police probe that led in January 2025 to Senazandotti and Hamadi being briefly detained as part of an investigation into the mistreatment of vulnerable people. That was not enough to stop what came next. In August 2025, Gravin took part in what would become his last stream, a broadcast that, according to multiple outlets, ran for close to 300 consecutive hours, nearly 12 days, with Gravin and his co-streamers barely sleeping. Days before it ended, Gravin sent his mother a message saying he felt like he was being held hostage and that he was exhausted by the endless controversy the streams generated. On August 18, 2025, Gravin was found unresponsive in a room near Nice that had been rented for the broadcast. French media reported that the stream was cut only after his co-streamers realized he was unconscious in bed. A live donation counter tied to the broadcast reportedly showed viewers had contributed more than 36,000 euros over the course of the stream. The Nice prosecutor at the time, Damien Martinelli, said the autopsy found the death was not caused by trauma and was not linked to the intervention of another person, though he ordered further toxicology testing. The response from officials was immediate and pointed. France's junior minister for artificial intelligence and digital technology, Clara Chapas, called Gravin's death absolutely horrific and said she had referred the matter to Arcom, France's media regulator, and to Pharos, the government's portal for reporting illegal content online. She reminded platforms bluntly that responsibility for the content they host is not optional, it is the law. France's High Commissioner for Childhood, Sarah El Haïry, separately urged parents to exercise vigilance given the violent content associated with Gravin's streams. The platform Kik itself issued a statement saying it was cooperating with authorities and had banned every co-streamer who took part in the final broadcast pending the investigation's outcome. Gravin's death didn't end the legal reckoning, it multiplied it. Alongside the criminal case against Senazandoti and Hamadi, French prosecutors opened a separate investigation into the platform Kik itself, examining allegations that the Australia-based platform had distributed illegal content and been negligent in moderating it. By December 2025, the government was pushing for a court in Paris to order a nationwide block of Kik, though prosecutors ultimately stopped short of backing that broader measure, calling it excessive, and instead sought to the closure of roughly 15 channels that were illegally rebroadcasting Gravin's old content. Kik, for its part, argued it had already removed the material in question and challenged the legal basis being used to justify preventive platform restrictions, warning it would punish millions of ordinary users for the conduct of a handful of accounts. The pressure on the platform's leadership escalated further in January of this year when French prosecutors requested arrest warrants for Kik's managers after executives failed to respond to a summons for questioning, with a source telling reporters that individuals sought were believed to be in Australia at the time. The criminal case against Senazandoti and Hamadi moved through the Nice court over the first half of this year, with the two men appearing before the Tribunal Correctionnel on July 7th to answer charges that, per CNews, included violence committed as a group, abuse of a person's weakness, abus de faiblesse, distribution of violent images, and incitement to hatred or violence against two victims. Prosecutors asked for a tougher outcome than what the court ultimately delivered: a year of home confinement under electronic monitoring and a €30,000 fine for Sena Zandoti, and an 18-month suspended sentence with a €15,000 fine for Hamadi. When the verdict finally came this week, almost exactly a year after Gravin's death, the court landed on lighter penalties than prosecutors had sought: suspended sentences, fines, and a half year away from the platforms that had made both men famous. For a case that began with a humiliation stream business model and ended with a man dying in his sleep in front of a paying audience, it was for many observers a strikingly narrow legal conclusion to a story that had exposed much larger questions about platform accountability, about the audiences that fund this kind of content, and about how long warning signs can go unheeded when the cameras are still rolling and the donations are still coming in. The investigations into the platform's own executives, meanwhile, remains active. A reminder that the Nice verdict may be only one part of the reckoning still working its way through the French legal system. Thank you for listening to Le Weekend, your one-stop destination for the main headlines in France. Catch our weekly roundup every weekend wherever you get your podcasts. Stay informed.